Well, welcome back, everybody. Let's give a warm welcome to writer-director Santiago Mitre and Ricardo Darín. And please welcome also Consuelo Leonet, who will be interpreting for us.
Thank you.
Bueno, buenas tardes y muchas gracias por estar acá. Thank you for being here. We're very happy on showing the film in Santa Barbara.
Oh, well, welcome. Santiago, I'll start with you. When I was watching the film, I was fascinated by this relationship that you make, this correlation that you make in the film between family and justice. And I was just curious, your thoughts about that correlation.
Yeah, it's I did a very long research because I knew that the subject was so important, and I needed to talk with everyone, not only to know the facts, but also to know how the people who did this amazing trial in the moment it was done, how they feel, and to understand well, the deepness of the characters. So I spoke a lot with the son of Estracera, and well, and he told me the way his family was being part of the trial, as if they were like also working in the prosecutorial team, and I saw the lovely connection he had with his. Well, I understood the lovely connection he had with his son and with his wife, and so and because I wanted to make this film that it's about this well, sort of hero. But a very human hero, you know. So starting with the family, and so you can feel connected with him, with his humor, with his relation with the family. It was important so that we understand the fears and the the difficulties. Dificultades, no me sale la palabra.
Difficulties.
Hardships. Bueno, sorry. Difficulties. Right. It was to make the trial. So I really wanted to work on the family as this political group, political circle.
Surrounding.
Because the families are very important in the film. For Estracera, of course, but also for Moreno Campo, you know, the deputy prosecutor, because, well, he's getting away from the path or from the belonging of the family. So it's something I really wanted to work on, and it was, and luckily the research helped me to put this on screen.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Ricardo.
Yes.
You have never, prior to this, you have never done a non-fictional character. Yeah. And why did you agree to this film and to actually playing a historical character?
Esta vez acepté orgulloso esta propuesta de Santiago porque el objetivo de esta historia es mucho más importante que cada uno de los integrantes o de los componentes humanos que la llevaron adelante. Es tan grande lo que hicieron, es tan épico, es un ejemplo a nivel mundial, en realidad, porque fue la primera vez que un tribunal civil pudo llevar a juicio a dictadores, que no me quedó más remedio que aceptar.
This time I proudly accept it because this is a story that goes beyond the characters. It's a story that speaks universally to everyone. This was the first time in history that a civil court could take to trial a military dictatorship. So I had no choice but to accept proudly this offer.
Por otra parte, pienso que es muy difícil llevar al cine a alguien que realmente existió, digamos, que no es un rol de ficción. Es muy difícil competir con la realidad. Pero creo que Santiago y yo elegimos un buen camino en ese sentido, porque no buscamos copiar perfectamente su forma de ser. Rescatamos de su personalidad las cosas que nos parecían interesantes y funcionales para el guión, y nos dejamos un espacio de libertad para la imaginación.
It's very important to point out that in this case, Santiago and I didn't want to mimic a real historical character. We didn't want to copy anything, but what we did is we found details and nuances that would help us create a more layered character. So we gave freedom to our imagination, and that's how we could create, both from reality and our imagination, a deeper, more layered character.
Thank you. Santiago, following up on what we were just talking about the families, instead of focusing so much on the trial, you give us aspects of the private life, and it's balanced throughout the movie. Can you tell us about that approach? The fact that the aspects of the home life, the personal history of the characters was just as important as the trial.
Yes, it's I will. The trial happened only 1 year after Argentina recorded the democracy. So the people who did the trial were put in, not only the prosecutors and the judges and the people in the government and the witnesses also. It was a risky thing to do. Because we've been living in a democracy for almost 40 years, but Argentina came from 100 years of democratic governments being taken away. ¿Cómo se dice? Derribados. Taken away.
Their power was taken away.
Yeah, well, by military dictatorships. So it was like a very fragile democracy. So I wanted, and then when I wanted to point that the courage and the importance and they were human beings doing that, you know. Like it's not like the whole society was wanting the trial. It was the courage and the intentions of these human beings, the president, the prosecutorial team, the judges, the witnesses. Because at the moment, after living in 100 years as Argentinians of constant coup d'etat to democracy, it was like people were afraid of losing the democracy again. It was something that could happen. So the trial was the thing that made all the society realize how important is to bring justice, to heal the wounds of a society after a cruel dictatorship as the one that we lived, and the importance of justice for democracy, which we needed to talk about these people. So Estracera, Moreno Campo, all the judges and all the witnesses that went to give their testimonies, they were all the people that kidnapped them or tortured them, they were still around. So it was, I wanted to make a very humanistic and strong film in that sense, so that we understand the values and of the characters, and that of course are translatable to the society. But
Sense.
Yeah.
Ricardo, one of the things I love about your character, Estracera, is that with all the pressure that is going on, he has a sense of humor. He's funny. Was that helpful to you, his sense of humor?
Cuando, más allá de la investigación que hicieron Santiago y Mariano Ginás para poder escribir el guión, cuando incorporamos el dato, que ya lo teníamos, pero lo fuimos reforzando, de que Julio César Estracera Era un hombre con un gran sentido del humor, un humor ácido también, por qué no decirlo, y áspero, motivo por el cual le decían el loco. El loco en Argentina no es un término tan despectivo, no refiere precisamente a tener un problema psiquiátrico, sino a su forma de ser. Y,
y es un apodo simpático, digamos.
Sí, es casi se podría decir cariñoso. Sí. Cuando incorporamos este dato, yo tengo la sensación, a pesar de que ya lo habíamos hablado con Santiago, de que se nos abrió una ventana de posibilidades para permitir que, a pesar del tema que teníamos entre manos, pudiéramos dejar que transpirara cierto sentido del humor de Stracera, y creo que no nos equivocamos en ese sentido. Please, Consuelo.
Okay, here we go.
You have a difficult one, Consuelo, now.
Okay, so, you know, when we started analyzing the script and I started basing myself on the script, you know, during the journey of that research, we found out that Stracera had this very unique sense of humor. And in fact, he was called the crazy one in Argentina. That was his nickname. And in Argentina, to be called like that is not a despective thing. It's actually a term of endearment, like crazy cute or something like that. So, and the reason why he was called, he had this nickname is because he had this very unique sense of humor. When we found that out, that opened a window for us to access that humor and, you know, again, give more layers to the character, and I think it worked wonderfully.
Yeah, absolutely.
Actually, many of the things, these crazy things that Stracera did, some of them are on the film, like the moment when he's doing like that to the lawyers, and there were some others that are actually a little bit over the top, so we had to take it away. But he was a very funny character.
I'm sorry.
Person, let's say, no, character. It's,
hay una anécdota que conocimos de Stracera en la fiscalía que lo retrata perfectamente, lo describe acabadamente. Cuando empezaron a recibir amenazas para que este juicio no se hiciera, todo el día llamaban para hacer amenazas, para producir miedo y que el juicio no se pudiera realizar. Y nos enteramos, sabemos que Stracera atendía el teléfono durante el día y decía, ¿es por el tema de las amenazas? Sí, llamen mañana de 7:30 a 8 que los vamos a atender.
Yeah. I would love to share this anecdote that that we found during our research of Stracera. So when Stracera was working in the prosecution office, you know, they would constantly receive threats, telephone calls threatening to try to stop the trials. And something that is very funny and I would love to share is that he would pick up the phone and he would respond, if this is about the threats, please call tomorrow from 7:30 a.m. to 8 a.m. and that's when we will take care of you.
Y no porque no tuviera miedo.
And that's not because he was not afraid. It was just he was using his sense of humor, right?
That's great. Santiago, like Ricardo, you have never made a historical film before. You have done fiction films. And you wrote this film as well as directing it. Can you tell us about the process to your research? Was it completely different to your prior work?
Well, it was and it was not at the same time because I did a very long research because the subject it's so important and so recent in a way that I need to be very accurate and very respectful with all the events. It was like 2 years. But I think the more important thing for me was to talk to the people who did the trial and to understand what they felt and who they were and to try to watch those small things that you can only see when you're talking to someone. And when I was writing the script, then I realized that after doing this long research además de los hechos, ¿cómo sería?
Beyond the facts.
Beyond the facts, I built a relationship with many of the people, with Luis, and with Marcos Emiliana, with Judith, with many of the people who are part of the prosecutorial team, and with some of the families of the witnesses. And I was writing and realizing that at some point these people were going to watch the film. So for me, it was something that made me write, I think, with more, I don't know, respect, or with more cariño, como sería, porque no es amor.
With care.
With care. And well, luckily that now they saw the film and they all, además de entender, estoy perdiendo el inglés. Beyond understanding it's a fiction, they feel the film is reflecting what they felt and lived during that period.
Ricardo, your performance is amazing.
I agree.
We watch, you know, I've mentioned to Santiago, I've seen the film a few times, but we watch you at the beginning. He has no confidence. I mean, he seems to be beaten down, and then we watch him feel empowered and grow, but it's subtle, the changes. Can you tell us about how you calibrated the transformation of Trasera?
Yes. Voy a tratar de ser sintético. Porque obviamente es una pregunta que tendría una respuesta muy compleja. Voy a tratar de ser lo más escueto posible. Me gusta mucho este perro, mucho.
You cannot take her with you.
I'm going to try to be short. The shortest. I really love this dog, by the way. But this is an answer that requires a complex answer.
Yes.
But let me think about it. I'm going to try to be concise.
Yo pienso que cuando en este espacio-tiempo que nosotros nos ocupamos de la vida de estas personas, me gusta decir personas y no personajes, porque existieron y existen, tuvimos siempre la sensación de que la autoestima de Trasera estaba muy abajo, muy decaído. Tal vez por no haber podido realizar su trabajo como hubiese querido durante la dictadura, o por algunos otros motivos que desconocemos, pero siempre tuvimos la sensación de que su autoestima estaba realmente muy baja. Creo que el momento de inflexión que describís, a partir de que él se va empoderando, tiene que ver con la fusión con la sangre joven, la sangre nueva que ingresa dentro de lo que es el grupo de la Fiscalía. El arco de este personaje se describe claramente a partir de la aparición de la gente joven con el ímpetu, con el coraje, con la dedicación que le ponen, y él creo que se abrazó a esta nueva generación y empezó a recuperar su autoestima. Eso es lo que creo que quisimos hacer nosotros durante el film.
Okay. When we started doing our research,
Are you okay?
Sí, cualquier cosa te pido ayuda. I'll ask for help if I forget. Thank you. No. When we started doing our research to characterize these people, these humans, I don't want to call them characters because they were real people who existed and lived. We noticed that Trasera at the beginning had a very low self-esteem. And we also noticed that this was due to the fact, probably, that during that military dictatorship, he was not able to do anything about it. He was not able to change anything. And then as the film goes on, we can see how his personality starts evolving. And I think the reason why is the big change for him is when he gets in touch with the young blood and the younger generations. So the minute the young generation steps in, that gives him the power and the strength to move forward with all of this.
Bravo, Consuelo. That was perfect.
Yeah. That was very good.
Thank you.
Yes, and without notes. Santiago, the film takes place in 1985 in Argentina. It has changed. It has changed in certain ways, and it has not changed the city. How difficult was it for you to recreate Argentina in 1985? Production design.
In terms of the architecture of the city has changed a lot more than what I I thought when I was writing the script. I was born in the 80s. My childhood is in the 80s, so I have the sensation that, well, the 80s was just there, and it's not. It's a long time that has passed since then. So it was not easy at all to do the recreation of the city. I mean, the producers and the production designers and all the people involved in the film did a magnificent work. Because we wanted to be very precise on the recreation of the 80s, but not over-portray that, because we felt that this film needed to be precise and subtle because of the subject and everything. So we tried to find some key elements to tell the 80s, like were sort of metaphors or something like that, like the cassettes, the radios, the old telephones, of course the cars and the costumes. But we wanted something that was very controlado. Controlled, not go over the top.
Perdón, probablemente sea mucho más difícil reconstruir todo esto que acaba de describir Santiago con referencia a un pasado cercano que a uno muy lejano, porque en la reconstrucción de ese pasado cercano, como es en este caso, hay muchos testigos. Somos muchos los testigos que sabemos cómo fue exactamente en ese momento. Si abordamos una historia de 150 años atrás, no hay muchos testigos que puedan contradecirnos.
It's probably way more difficult to reconstruct a past that is recent compared to a past from 100 years ago. And the reason why, it's because a lot of the people who lived in that recent past are still alive. So there's a lot of witnesses to that. So that's how.
Actually, we are witnesses of that.
It's an extremely challenging situation to be able to reconstruct that accurately when there's so many witnesses still alive from that period of time.
But one thing that, of course, helped us a lot is that we were able to shoot on the real courtroom where the trial happened, and the place, and that's an historical building that remained almost the same. For me, it was very important to be able to shoot in that courtroom because I wanted the moment when the witnesses appear to. I don't know, to have the trial was broadcasted in 1985, but it was broadcasted from the back. They shot from the neck of the witnesses because they need to protect them. As I told you, it was dangerous to be a witness at that moment. So we were doing this recreation, and I understood very quickly that the thing that I needed to shoot was the faces, because it was something that was not allowed in the 85. So now, with the perspective of time, we needed to understand the feeling, the fear, the anger, the sadness of the people who were giving their testimony. So the faces to have these clean shots and direct shots of the faces telling the atrocities they lived in the dictatorship was something, well, probably one of the more important things that we need to tell. And it defined many things. Also the frame that we used in the frame is like a 155. That is the frame that the photography of the period, still photography of the period, and the photographies that we used as a reference were taken from the trial. So that's what made us decide also the frame that we were going to use. But also I wanted to be able to use footage from the original trial. So with my DOP, who is Javier Juliá, who is a magnificent DOP, Argentinian, we designed a system where we were shooting our recreation of these testimonies, but also were also being shot with the Humanizing camera, which was the same Humanizing camera that was used during the trial, that helped us to go through the viewfinders of these old cameras, helped us to go to the real footage of the trial. So we are mixing all the time in that sequence some of the real shots from the trial with our recreation, with fake footage. And it was also something important in the end when we shot the indictment of Estracera. But I will tell that because I would suppose we will ask Ricardo how he did to make that indictment so good.
Which actually, you answered a question that I had about shooting, mixing the footage No, it's all right. Hey, I love it when you're ahead of me. So you mixed footage with real shot. Tell us about the difficulty of editing and mixing in the old footage with the current stuff.
Well, it was difficult because we wanted to be like subtle, as I said, with everything in this film. So we did not want to change the texture so much. So we find this key thing that were the TVs and the viewfinder of the cameras that like put the footage in those screens, so small screens that we had as a prop in the shooting, and then we could go through that to the real footage. But it was, of course, an idea that I had during the pre-production of the film, but we didn't know if it was going to work. Mm-hmm. But then in the editing and in the color grading, we needed to work with many techniques because the image, it has a contrast in the quality, but we wanted to feel more or less the more similar that we could, so not to be distractive.
Mm-hmm. Ricardo, so you shot in the Palacio de Justicia. Can you tell us what was it like for you to do the scenes in the Palacio de Justicia in that crowded room, and especially that final speech that you deliver? What was it like for you as an actor to be experiencing that?
Todo el proceso de rodaje estuvo siempre cargadísimo de emoción. Probablemente el momento de mayor impacto para todos nosotros, para los actores, los técnicos, para todos los que componíamos el equipo de filmación, probablemente haya sido el momento en que ingresamos en la sala de audiencias. Estar ahí sabiendo que no solo estaba exactamente igual a lo que había sido casi 40 años atrás, sino que todo había transcurrido ahí durante meses. Ahí fue donde pasaron todos los testigos, todos los testimonios, algunos sobrevivientes, familiares de víctimas. Esa carga emocional estuvo siempre flotando en la atmósfera, a pesar de, por supuesto, que habían pasado 37 años. Ese fue el momento de mayor impacto. Después, a medida que... Sí, perdón.
The whole shooting of the film was always filled with emotions, and it's because everyone involved, cast and crew, were always, their emotions were involved in the whole process. Especially for me, I have to say, is the moment I walked into the courtroom and I was shooting that scene in the courtroom where the actual trials took place for so long, and where the indictment took place. That was highly emotional for me, and it had a deep impact of course, in the characterization and in the performance.
Es que para el resto del equipo también fue para todos de alto impacto entrar ahí porque estaba exactamente igual.
Not only for me, but for the whole cast and crew. And the reason why is because the courtroom looked exactly the same as it did when the actual trials took place.
And Ricardo, and also to Santiago, did making the film, did it help you process Argentina's history? I mean, you both were alive when all of this happened. I mean, you must have been like 5 years old or so. But did it help you to process Argentina's history?
It was, sorry. No, I'm sorry. I'm speaking first. No, it was very cathartic for me. I think for Ricardo and for everyone in the team to watch Ricardo doing the indictment, or to see Adriana Calvo de la Borde telling how the atrocities she lived and giving birth in a police car. Well, it was really cathartic. We could not avoid crying during the takes, and the emotion was constant. Even after repeating scenes many times, nobody could take out the eyes of Ricardo saying the indictment, and it was a very intense collective cinematographic experience for us as filmmakers, and it's also something that it's happening in the screenings in Argentina. Well, I don't know, probably here too. This film is about like a collective process and a catharsis and how to heal the wounds of something. So it's needed to. It's important to watch it as a group, as a collective experience in a cinema. So I'm very happy on what is happening in Argentina and what is happening in many places of the world, because I feel that this catharsis that our society needed to do, it's being done through, well, the tools that cinema give. Well, I don't know if I went too far on my answer, but I wanted to say that.
No? ¿Y Ricardo?
Estoy totalmente de acuerdo con lo que dijo Santiago. Fue una experiencia de punta a punta, fue una experiencia muy fuerte, muy emocionante. Todos los días nos alimentamos y nos retroalimentamos de toda esa carga emocional. Tuvimos la suerte de tener una muy buena química entre todos los integrantes del equipo, tanto del equipo técnico como del artístico, y siempre estuvimos tratando de ser muy respetuosos, porque nunca olvidamos, a pesar de ciertas situaciones que pueden tener un poco de humor, que estábamos reviviendo, recordando y refrescando una historia que tiene mucho dolor sobre sus espaldas.
I agree 100% with what Santiago just said. And let me point out that, we were always getting this emotional feedback and emotional nourishment throughout the shooting. And this helped me a lot, of course, with the character. And we did all of this with the utmost respect and taking into account that, this is something that happened in the past, and listening to all the witnesses and all their testimonies. Of course, lots of pain and suffering, but we always took into account that this had to be done with utmost respect.
Santiago, the film ends with this big triumph, and in most movies it would end there with that big triumph. But you tell us that the dictators were actually pardoned. And can you tell us about that? Ending your film with this harsh reality.
Yeah, it was something that we thought a lot about when we were working on the script, because of course this film is telling the story about something that went good, but also it was just the beginning. So like the happy ending was not something that it was going to suit to the way we were imagining the film. So it was difficult on how to work it out, but we find this idea on the relationship between Julio and his son, and to finish the film with a conversation between them, and the boy, making him understand what he achieved, even if it was not enough, and it's just the beginning, and that the film is ending on Julio with his son is also something very, well, like a strong image to give for me, because when we are talking about building a memory why are you building a memory? You are building a memory because of for the people who are going to build a society in the upcoming years, so they don't make the same mistakes, so they remember how important it is to make justice and to work in the consolidation of the democracy. So it's it was something symbolic and important for me that Julio was doing that because of his son in a way. So that's something that I like very much about the ending, but also it's like it's giving the sensation that it's one first step, and that it took us many years to bring justice or bring complete justice, even if it probably will not. It's impossible at some points, but the trials keep on going, and there's convictions, and the processes for the crimes during the dictatorship still go on. So it's something that for us, the Argentinians, it makes us feel proud. Yeah, I think. Don't you agree, Ricardo?
If you agree, si estás de acuerdo con lo que ha dicho.
No, not at all.
Santiago, the movie is extremely specific about Argentina in 1985, but of course it ripples to today. I mean, where democracy is fragile, and it was when you were writing the script, were you conscious of the fact that this will speak to today?
Yeah, well, it's so difficult to make a film that if you are thinking on that, well, on how people will react, it makes it even more difficult, I think. So my main objective was to make a film which worked cinematically with the best tools, tension, storytelling, and all that. But and you begin to understand what a film is and what it means for the context when you start to show it and you start to have the interaction with the audience, start to talk to people, journalists or people from that you can see during the screenings. But it's been amazing, and we have shown the film, well, first in Venezia and in many other film festivals, and we realized that the film is connecting a lot with different countries, different societies, different stories, and I realized that, of course, that every society has a wound that need to be healed, and it's claiming for justice, and they are trying to construct a better democracy. So I'm realizing now how universal the film is, and which is a lot more than what I thought when I was talking. But at the same time, it's like something obvious. When you speak truly about an event from your country, you can make it universal. You know? It's like the more precisely you talk about things that you know or your country experience, maybe the more universal you can become.
Ricardo, the film is not. It actually brings Moreno Ocampo and you both are from different backgrounds and different attitudes. And of course, the Latanzi, the actor, is phenomenal in the role. Can you tell us about that relationship and working with Latanzi?
It was great because Peter Lanzani is a great actor and a great person. Nuestra química se produjo en forma instantánea. Además, Peter es amigo de mi hijo, de Chino. O sea, lo
He's also a producer in the film, right?
Yes. Y lo conocía, digamos, socialmente había tenido oportunidad de conocerlo, nunca habíamos trabajado juntos, pero intuía, imaginaba, presentía que nos íbamos a llevar bien y así fue. Realmente hicimos muy buena química personalmente entre nosotros y creo que eso termina de alguna manera produciendo una sensación que creo que es muy linda para nuestra película, que es que al final uno tiene casi la sensación de que son padre e hijo. Es como si hubiera incorporado un hijo más.
So we had instant chemistry with him. In fact, he's a friend of my son. So I had known him from before. We never worked together before. But when I knew that we were going to work together, I sensed and I had a premonition that we were going to get along really, really well. And in fact, we had this amazing chemistry that you can see on the screen. And it's something that
Casi al final tenés la sensación de que son padre e hijo.
And exactly, and at the end of the movie, you have this sensation, this feeling that maybe this is a father-son relationship between Stracera and Moreno Ocampo. So, and that, I think that's reflected through our relationship, a real and honest chemistry on screen.
Eso se debe a dos cosas, básicamente. A ese intercambio de energía y ese, podríamos llamarlo químico entre nosotros, y a la edición que hizo Santiago de cada una de las escenas y las tomas, que terminan conformando una relación casi familiar.
That is due to both things. First of all, that chemistry or that relationship that I'm talking about. And second of all, of course, the editing and the wonderful job that Santiago did, because that's exactly how it's portrayed in the film, that amazing relationship between the two characters.
Santiago, it's a beautiful script, and I was curious I was so struck with the line, "People like me don't make history." I was wondering if that's something that Stracera actually said or you came up with, but I'll never forget that line, because it summarizes the film, the fact that, this ordinary man actually changed history. And yeah.
You're saying perfectly. I don't have nothing to add about that. Yeah, the film is about this guy who has a new opportunity in life and to correct things that he could not do during his experience during the dictatorship. So, and to understand that to make a change in this world, we are seeing so many films about superheroes. It's like heroes are normal human beings who can make wrong at some time, but they can correct and do good afterwards, because it's like, that's the way life is. So I wanted to portray this guy who had a heroic redemption.
But that's not a line that Stracera said.
I will not tell you that.
Oh, okay. Well, what an honor to have the two of you here. My goodness, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you.
The movie's playing here, guys, so spread the word.